Did you know there was a motorcycle that had its entire engine spinning right inside the front wheel? Yep, the 1921 Megola literally put the motor where you'd least expect it, right on the hub. Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever seen a motorcycle so bizarre, so unapologetically weird, that even my conspiracy theorist neighbor Bob would stop mid-sentence about alien carburetors and say, "Wait, that's real? Welcome to the wild spinning world of the Megola." A motorcycle where the engine is inside the front wheel, the clutch is a myth, and the only thing more confusing than riding it is owning it. Now, before we go any further, hit that subscribe button faster than Bob running from a bee. You don't want to miss more masterpieces like this one. So, the Megola, built in Munich between 1921 and 1925. And when I say built, I mean handcrafted like a piece of dangerous furniture with horsepower. It was the brainchild of Fritz Gockerell, funded by two gents named Meichner and Landgraf. That's how we get Megola. I believe if they added me to the team, it would have been Mego Boom. And friends, this thing had a 5-cylinder rotary engine spinning inside the front wheel. Yeah, that's not a metaphor, not a euphemism. A 640cc radial engine turning opposite the direction of the wheel, like a hamster wheel designed by a madman with access to cast iron. Each of the 5 cylinders was 128cc, making a grand total of 640cc, and in touring trim, it pushed out around 14 PS, about 10 kilowatts. That's roughly the power of an old vacuum cleaner, but inside your wheel. No clutch, no gearbox, just pure commitment. To start it, you had to spin the front wheel by hand or kick it like you're trying to discipline a demon out of a tire. Then hop on, because if you stop moving, the engine stops spinning. You stop, it dies. Now, some were built for touring, had a springy rear end, some big fenders hit 85 to 90 kilometers per hour, around 53 to 56 miles per hour. But if you were feeling spicy, there was a sport version that dumped the rear suspension, lightened everything but your insurance premium, and screamed its way up to 140 kilometers per hour or 87 miles per hour. That's fast enough to outrun regret. And while it was promoted as a tourer, let's be honest, this was not a peaceful ride to the countryside. It was more like strapping yourself to a cannonball with handlebars. But racing? That's where Megola got its groove. Riders like Tony Bauhofer took it to AVUS in 1923 and clocked 142 kilometers per hour, 88 miles per hour, which back then was basically light speed unless you were a Comet or a German tax inspector. Most of them live in museums, collector garages, or Bob's imagination. Changing tires on this thing was its own exercise in engineering theater. Still, only about 700 to 800 were ever made. And today, roughly a dozen have survived. The front tire was a thin donut you could swap without removing the wheel. It was arguably the only convenient thing about it. The rest? Well, let's say it made every ride an adventure. Now here's the best part for collectors. If you wanted one of these spinny death donuts today, you'd need serious money. In 2016, a fully restored 1921 touring Megola with replica frame and fresh paint went for £82,140, about $107,000 at the time. For reference, you could buy a Vincent Black Shadow for the same money at that auction. But let's face it, the Vincent doesn't have its engine in the wheel. No new Megolas were made after 1925. The economy crashed harder than Bob's knees when he tried to impress his date by doing the splits at a wedding. The Megola's bizarre design never really caught on, probably because normal people enjoy things like brakes, clutches, and not having to spin their tire like a roulette wheel to go for a ride. What I liked the most? Honestly, the absurd bravery. Someone looked at a rotary airplane engine and said, "Let's jam it in the front wheel, forget the clutch, and hope nobody notices." That's innovation, or insanity, or both. But either way, it rolled, and sometimes it even won races. So we salute the Megola for being fast when it shouldn't be, for being complicated when nobody asked, and for making every mechanic cry just a little.